Alrighty, it is 6:30, and this is Tuesday, January 11th, 2022. And this is the Zoning Board of Appeals for the town of Marshfield. I'd like to thank MCTV for working with us on another year, and welcome back after the holidays. So we will be working tonight on cases 2201, and that's the first one of the year. So tonight's hearing is a hybrid participation meeting. The meeting ID is 890-7953-5336. The passcode is 208019. I'd like to reiterate to the audience and the public that perhaps is dialing in and not on Zoom, that if you are dialing in, you need to press *6 to be heard, and then again, when you are completed and done, you press *6 to mute yourself. Tonight is a hybrid participation meeting, but I'd like to go over what that means to this board, and I'd like you to all to understand that while an option for remote attendance and our participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting or hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless required by law. So before we get started, for the procedures of a meeting that we have with Zoom, I'd like to make a roll call vote and get this underway. So here in front of you this evening in the Selectman's office, we have Larry Keane, Lynn Fiddler, Chris Blazes, and Brian Murphy, Nancy, and Andrew Stewart, our building commissioner. Heidi Conway, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, Heidi is working through Zoom remotely for us this evening. Who else? Mr. Feeney. Hello, Steve Feeney. How are you this evening?
Good evening.
Mrs.
Madam Chair.
Madam Chair. He's a wise guy.
I wasn't sure what to call you anymore.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So welcome this evening, and we're going to get this started, and hopefully it shouldn't be a long evening. So thank you for joining in. Nancy, is there anything specific that we need to do? Okay, so I'm going to...
There are only 3 cases for tonight.
Right, so I'm going to go with a little bit of the housekeeping and get that out of the way for this evening. So we have case 2204, which is Robert and Teresa Manchester, trustee. I'm going to read it into the record, and then the petitioner has requested us to withdraw this without prejudice. The petitioners are seeking a variance in accordance with 305-10.11 for relief from 305-6.02 and a special permit in accordance with 305-10.12 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to construct an approximate 14-foot by 24-foot three-season porch over the existing deck on the property located at 36 Everson Road, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel L09-14-03 and is located in an R3 zoning district. As I mentioned earlier, the petitioner has requested to withdraw without prejudice, and unless there's comments from the board, I would like to grant that request. Any comments from the board? Alrighty. I'd like to make a motion to, I guess, first I probably would close it, correct? I would say so.
Yeah.
I'd make a motion to close case 2204 for 36 Everson Road. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Brian Murphy. All those in favor of closing?
Larry Keane, aye.
Lynn Fiddler, aye.
Chris Blazes, aye. Brian Murphy, aye.
Heidi Conway?
Aye. Aye.
Steve Feeney, aye.
Alrighty. So we are closed. I'd like to make a motion to allow the petitioner to withdraw without prejudice. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Brian Murphy. All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Lynn Fiddler, aye.
Chris Blazes, aye. Brian Murphy, aye.
Heidi Conway?
Aye.
Steve Feeney?
Aye.
Alrighty.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you so much. So we are all set with that. We also have a hearing that is continued, which is case 2190, which is Gabrielle and Helene Gomes. And this applicant has requested a continuance, that's for 76 Caroline Circle. Any comments from the board? Otherwise, I'm going to make a motion to continue. Okay. I'd like to make a motion to continue case 2190 for 76 Caroline Circle to a date certain of February 22nd at 6:30 time certain. Do I have a second?
Second?
Second by Brian Murphy. All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Lynn Fiddler, aye.
Chris Mills, aye. Brian Murphy, aye.
Heidi Conway?
Aye.
And Steve Feeney.
Aye.
All righty. All right, so before we get started this evening, this hearing is now open. I'd like to mention to the board that we have a longtime member that has been a good friend and of the board and of the town of Marshfield, and he has resigned, and I am sad to see that occur and wish him all the best of luck. So Mark Stiles, well done in the
Job well
past.
done.
We really appreciate everything you do for us, and I hope you continue to work with the town of Marshfield, because your service is really appreciated. All righty. So do we have case 2201 George Bartlett?
Yes.
Would you like to approach the board?
Certainly.
Welcome.
Thank you. Madam Chair.
Okay. I'm going to read this into the record and then we'll get started. 2201 George Bartlett. The petitioner is seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-10.12 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to construct a 5-foot 10-inch by 18-foot 8-inch addition at the rear of the dwelling on the property located at 13 Agawam Avenue, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel M0807-03 and is located in an R3 zoning district. Before we get started, I failed to mention our town council is here as well this evening. I think I saw him earlier
He's on there,
Zoom.
yeah.
Okay,
Just down lower.
all right. Bob, can you hear my voice? Excellent, thank you. So would you identify yourself again for the record?
Yes, I'm George Bartlett, and I live at 13 Agawam Ave,
Okay.
Marshfield.
All right, so you'll see in front of you the application on the board.
Yep.
This is a request for a special permit. If you'd like to, let's start with this since it's here. So you'll see this is your site plan.
Correct.
Okay, why don't you explain what your plans are here?
Excuse me. What we're proposing to do is just add in a 5'10" by 18.8 bump out and turn our current bedroom into a master bedroom, which will include a small bathroom.
Okay. Andrew, has this applicant been in to see you? This is not to scale nor,
I don't think we've specifically met about this one, though.
okay,
These drawings and sketches were done by my contractor.
yeah. So typically, when you come in front of the board, you need the dimensional specifics, not just hand-sketched on a piece of paper.
Okay? Duly noted.
Duly noted. Do you have any other elevations or anything of that nature?
There were additional drawings that were provided, and sketches from the builder who kind of put his frame plan together, and that's what you're seeing here. All the drawings.
Okay. So this is difficult for the board to interpret.
Yep. So the proposed new section is the bump on the left with the gable there.
I understand.
Yep.
Okay. Do you have the the actual height of this building as it's existing and,
The current existing, I don't think, they may be provided in the sketches. You might be able to.
Is the main house 1 or 2 stories?
Oh, the main house is 2 stories. It's a cape with 2 bedrooms upstairs.
And the addition's just 1 story?
Correct. Yep.
so typically, I would not have this go to a vote because
Yep.
of. as
You
I
want
just-
additional detail.
Yes, we would need additional detail.
And by that, just so I'm clear, you'll want dimensional drawings with, or a formal drawing with dimensions. Yep.
Can I see what you have? Yeah, thank you.
Is that what you're gonna use for the building permit, Andrew?
I mean,
So it's a,
The current height is 24 feet.
Yeah, is that the plan right here?
Yep.
Good drawing. And sketch.
Right.
so Andrew, for this particular application, we've been through this before, and
Right.
sometimes the sketches are appropriate for what the scale of the project that we have in front of us. So if you want
Yep.
to.
yeah, I mean, can I look at that and understand what they're doing? Yes.
Sure.
You know, can
Yep.
we look at that and do calculations off of these sketches and verify spans and materials? Yes, you know.
Mhm.
He does show what the cantilever lengths are, he does show all that stuff. Well, if I really do, dive in and pay attention, yes. But as some of the professionals in the audience will know, I often send their stuff back
Sure.
with, and say, take all this span information and draw it cleanly into a set of plans that's legible, that maybe not just me looking at it, but
Right.
somebody in the public, maybe the next person to own your house,
Sure.
goes to look at it and,
Right,
and
right.
can see our plans and say, understand what it was that actually was transpired.
You'd want something like this on record, basically, is what you're saying.
Well, the
Well, so
board,
that's the site, the
This
site
was,
plan.
this is these were previous drawings for the previous edition.
For the site plan,
Something more formal.
that's one thing, but I'm talking more about like the actual framing plans
Yep.
and construction drawings.
Yep.
The site plan, we obviously can tell it's a non-conforming structure, but the one thing they didn't include on there was really any setbacks. I mean, we can see it doesn't go beyond any of the other setbacks.
Correct. Yep.
But we obviously would require a new site plan at the end, an as-built to show exactly where you ended up. But that's at the board's discretion, whether they want to require you to have a proposed site plan done beforehand or not. As far as the plans, again, most
Right.
likely if you submitted that, I would shoot it back and say, draw something better.
Okay, yep. All right, I will inform the builder of that, and I think you're right, having a new site plan when completed would be the best thing to do, too. Right, and as we said before, we're not going outside the current footprint or, elevation, but we'll get that detail to you in a better set of drawings. Yeah.
so for the board, not everybody has the expertise that Andrew has, nor do your abutters and
Yep.
things of, so the importance to the board is that, yes, it's perhaps clear to Andrew, but it needs to be clear to the board.
Sure,
And I
sure.
would
Yep.
like to start off the year with that being an important part to the application process.
Yep.
So in light of that, I'm going to ask the board their comments and then ask the public for their comments. But you have, let's make sure that you have everything else that you
Great.
need. So you have a deed as part of, you are the owner. What else? The actual rendering of what the addition, I'm seeing what you've provided, and it's, you know, the siding, all those things we can make part of our job as
Sure.
far as aesthetics and things like that.
Okay.
Whether or not we decide to do that is up for every individual
Yep.
hearing, so. So any questions from the board or comments?
I don't have any, I can understand what's in front of me, so I'm okay with it.
I can understand what he's got going on here, and I would agree with you if it was more of a complex addition. I think something like this, Andrew's comments, that at the time of the application, he would need
Okay,
specific drawings from an architect, but I think at this point, if Andrew's satisfied with it, it's not that complex, you're not increasing any non-conformity.
Right. Yep. Okay.
you're remaining on the existing footprint. The elevation is not going above above, so we have a 35-foot height,
Correct.
and this is a cape.
Yep. And that new ridge pole is gonna meet well below the roof line, so.
Okay. Heidi, any comments? No?
No, I mean, I get what he's doing, it's like something my dad would have drawn on the shingle. So, I get what he's, I totally get it, but do we have the setback, like, can we just make what Andrew is doing that, can verify the setbacks and what have you?
Well, that's what I'm going to, I was going to go a little further, so we're just looking at the rendering right now. I think that the board, we can understand the project, not necessarily as we may want to in all cases, but in this particular case, I can understand. But the site plan, I would encourage the board, until we know what the actual setbacks are, not to assume that,
The plan you have in front of you, is that from Millbrook Survey?
Correct.
It's an accurate drawing of,
It's,
and that's
uh,
what you took this piece off of?
It's actually, yeah, it was done before, this this addition was planned. But
Right.
yeah, yeah, this is from.
But so
Millbrook.
you use the information off a stamped set of plans?
Correct.
To create this?
Exactly, yep.
And you do have that is a stamped set of plans in front of you?
Yep,
That we know that that's what's existing?
right, right,
You might want to give that to Lynn so she can
Yes.
take a look at it.
yep.
right?
So she can know it's done by a land surveyor.
Okay. So this is dated December
can get that.
2008, and the board did receive an 11 by
Right.
17
Yeah, those are
by
the same
Millbrook.
And those are, that 11 by 17 is the version, basically, that same version from Millbrook, 2008.
Yeah.
Well, it verifies that your setbacks are the same as those, and we know you're working within your footprint, so.
Just to be clear, the proposed addition that's on here is your last addition.
Yes. That's been completed already, yeah. No,
Yeah, they have that plan.
good point.
Paper.
Yeah, the proposed addition called out there
Yeah.
was done in 2008.
But we have it in the
Sorry.
package, right? Yeah.
So the proposed addition would be less than 16.4, so that's fine. And 35 feet, 24. Okay. I can live with this, everybody?
Yeah, that's in the, she has it in the package, but it's just not the same size.
Yeah, it wasn't part of
It's
the
not-
PDF.
It's not part of the PDF.
Okay. Is this your only copy?
No, keep it.
You should have a copy.
We have the small, we have the 11
We
by
have 11 by
17.
17.
Okay, all right, well, I think that you can have this back. All right, any comments from the public? Okay, again, if you're trying to dial in, you need to press *6 to be heard. right. So the question is whether or not we allow this applicant to move forward with the architectural renderings or sketches that we have. I think the board has made an impression that they will, in this particular case, allow that to go forward. Am I understanding correctly?
I'm okay with it.
Yes?
I'm good.
Steve Feeney? Are you okay with,
Yeah, I think, yes, I am.
and Heidi?
Yeah. Not ideal, but yeah.
Okay. And the same thing with the site plan?
And, well, let me just ask, what about town council? Does he have
Yeah.
an opinion with respect to this?
Bob, do you have an opinion?
With respect to the adequacy of the plan,
Correct.
Yes.
I mean, look at it, I think one of our responsibilities as a town is to make sure that we know when someone is making an improvement. And, you know, my, I guess, official position is that you should have a plan showing the existing conditions of what you're proposing, so that you know that the relief, you know exactly what relief you're granting. After the fact, we don't get a subsequent petition saying, oh, we ended up at, you know, closer than we anticipated and needing a variance or something. So, you know, my recommendation is typically gonna be, absent some extraordinary circumstances, you should have an appropriate plan. And if you wanna give some latitude, do it at the time of an as-built.
Mr. Feeney, are you okay and satisfied with that response?
Yes, I am.
Or do you want to reconsider?
I'm okay with making the decision tonight.
I am also.
Likewise.
Heidi? Yes?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. All right, well, let's make a motion to close. I am thinking that based on the number of votes that we would need. So, let's make
No.
a motion to close.
Second?
Seconded by Brian Murphy. All those in favor of closing?
Larry Keane, aye.
Lynn Fiddler, aye.
Chris Bellis, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Heidi Conway?
Aye.
And Steve Feeney.
You gotta unmute, Steve.
Steve, you need to unmute.
He looks frozen. I think he's frozen.
He's frozen.
All right, well,
Oh, Heidi said,
we have
we have 5.
5 votes here.
He's frozen.
I know, but I don't want to.
Probably gonna have to reboot himself.
Yeah, I'm going to call him.
He's just stepped out. His cell phone's not working. Just telling you.
You're so helpful. You know his cell phone's not
Yeah,
working?
it's not. Goes right to voice. Because I talked to him today.
Oh, okay. All right. then I won't
He
call
told me that from his work phone.
Okay, all right, in light of that, so we will go with the 5 votes that we have here.
I'm here, I just,
Oh, you're-
it's silent on me, but,
Okay, you're back. So, Mr. Feeney, you okay with us to close?
yes, yes.
Okay. This particular case, I think if we just maybe deliberate for a second or two?
Sure.
Sure.
Okay, all right. You want to start?
I can understand, I mean, Heidi sold me with the shingle, but I can clearly see that the proposed additions are within the setbacks of a professionally surveyed plan. So I'm not worried about it because the dimensions are clear, and that's what will be on the building permit, and that's what we're approving.
Any comments?
I think that I'm pretty much in the same camp, assuming that the plans that are eventually submitted to Andrew are up to snuff. Okay with it.
Okay.
I'm the same with Andrew's comments. I think Andrew's going to address it at the time of the permitting, and I'm fine.
Okay. Heidi, you have any comments?
No, I mean, I think he does need to have it professionally done, but Andrew will make sure that's done.
So this is a non-conforming structure. The applicant indicated that he is not going outside the footprint, is that correct, of the existing building envelope. Andrew commented that it is a straightforward request, and they will be maintaining the existing setbacks. So the conditions would be to provide a building permit with an occupancy permit and a final as-built. Anything else, Andrew?
Yeah, just, we're gonna have to.
Yeah, you have some work to do.
As far as the architectural drawings go,
Right.
and then the, yeah, the certificate of occupancy and a final as-built,
Okay.
certified plot plan.
All right.
Great.
Let's make a motion here. I'd like to make a motion to grant the special permit in accordance with 10.12 of the Marshfield Municipal Code, identifying the items 1 through 10 on our bylaw code, that the board is aware and that this meets the requirements as indicated. Do I have a second?
Second?
Second by Brian Murphy. All those in favor, we'll start on this way.
Larry Keane, aye.
Lynn Fiddler, aye.
Chris Bellows, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Heidi Conway.
Aye.
Steve Feeney.
Aye.
And which votes are counting?
Pardon? For
5.
this evening, let's count, use Mr. Keane, Larry Keane on this one, until the selectmen have appointed the replacement. Okay. And then we'll just alternate. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine. Yeah, absolutely.
Chris? Okay. All right. So you're all set.
Great, thank you very much. Appreciate
All
your
right.
help and your input, and
You have
make
some
sure we
work to
take care of
do.
the action items that we have here.
Excellent.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks. Take care. Have a good night.
Good night.
luck.
Thank you.
So moving into the next case, which is 2202 for SMH Green Harbor LLC. We have the applicant here, or his representative. I'm going to get started and read this into the record. The petitioner is seeking, number 1, Roman numeral 1, GL, Chapter 40A, Section 6 finding, special permit and site plan approval in accordance with the Marshfield Municipal Code 305-9.02, 305-10.10, 305-13.02, and 305-12.02. Number 2, amend/clarify the existing special permit use of a previously approved building as shipbuilding and ship repair facility on the property located at 239 Dyke Road, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel M0608-05A, located in the B4 Waterfront and Coastal Wetland District, and such further relief pursuant to the Marshfield Municipal Code as necessary. So, if you would like to identify yourself for the record, and we'll see what we have here.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Attorney Steve Gard for SHM Green Harbor LLC. As you may recall, back in February of 2020, we came before you with an application to raise and reconstruct the existing steel building, that which was approved, and as well as the site plan modifications to the existing commercial use as a boatyard marina. In the building permit application process, it was determined in discussions with the FEMA representative of Massachusetts FEMA representative that the categorization of the steel structure as a boat storage facility it does not have the functional dependency to be in this particular velocity zone, or AE zone, for the, for its use. It was the opinion of the FEMA representative that boat storage could be done off-site. In that regard, the building itself historically has been used for vessel repair, vessel storage, and it's only accessible by employees. So in working with Andrew and Eric Carlson of FEMA, as well as the engineers and the architects, the debate would be whether or not this building was required to be dry flood proofed or wet flood proofed. The original proposal was that this building would be wet flood proofed, meaning that it could be built at grade with various flood mechanisms or flood relief mechanisms that would allow water to flow in and out of the building. The building itself is only going to have in it boats, things that obviously can get wet. The conclusion was that if it was to be dry flood proof, then the building would have to be elevated to such an extent that it would make it impractical, unsafe, and not feasible to move boats in and out of the building, because there would be a substantially steep ramp necessary to get any vessel inside this building for repairs, storage, whatever it is. So, having worked alongside with the FEMA representative in reviewing their interpretation of the regulations, what is allowed as functionally dependent in its proximity to water in a coastal A zone is a ship repair and shipbuilding facility, which is essentially what this has been since, you know, the inception of time when this building was originally built. So before you this evening is an application to basically make a change or characterization change of the use that was approved in 2020 from boat storage facility or boat storage building to a shipbuilding, ship repair building. That's really, in essence, that's what it is. And in order for, and if you choose to do that, then we will be in compliance with the FEMA regulations, and we would be in compliance with the special permit. Since that has taken place, we have redesign the building to Andrew's satisfaction with respect to the wet flood proofing requirements under both the local and state and FEMA regulations. So we meet all those, and it'll be not, again, the building won't be accessible to the general public. All of the electrical units and everything will be well above the flood elevation required. I can let, engineers can speak more to that, but it's essentially, it's okay. It was okay before, it's just whether or not it was an appropriate use. We can, debate whether boats and ships can be stored in this area or moved off-site. That's a debate that we don't really want to make. We think that the better part of Valor is to recategorize or recharacterize the use from boat storage to boat shipbuilding. The site plan application before you is simply, it's essentially the same. They moved the building a little bit further from the street, and we've straightened that side, and we're going to add some landscape vegetation between the building and the street to break up such a big metal facade along Dyke Road. But other than that, that's basically where we're at. It was not anticipated that we would run into this interpretation. In our experience with many marinas, this is sort of a case of first impression as far as our understanding of the FEMA interpretation for the characterization of the use in these areas. Going forward, we will characterize all the buildings that we redo in this particular proximity to water as a shipbuilding, ship repair, so that we are in compliance with wet flood proofing and the proposed use under the FEMA guidelines to be able to avail ourselves of the functionally dependent use in its proximity to water.
Okay. So the board has with them, they have the deed. We have a authorization for you to act
I
in
also
the
have
permitting
the
process.
safe harbor personnel as well, if you have any specific questions about the use of the building or the functionality of the
Okay,
building.
I think we're probably gonna get to that. The original decision, the board members have that as well,
I submitted that with the application for ease of identification.
February 2020, 2 years, you're getting up to the 2-year mark on that. So. So this was granted as two principal uses at the site, namely a restaurant and a boatyard / marina. Both uses are separately allowed within the B4 waterfront district.
So Lynn, yeah, that's a good point to bring up, and I think the publication didn't really need the 48 Section 6 finding. Back when we made this initial application, I was concerned that, Marshfield's very particular about having only one principal use per lot. So I made sure that we applied for a 48 Section 6 finding as a pre-existing non-conforming 2 principal uses on 1 lot because I was concerned that the restaurant use might not be considered under boatyard and marina. So I think at that time it was felt that it was all part of the marina. I mean, the restaurant, the ship store, the bait store, all that stuff is not independent uses in the sense that it's all really part of the marina. It's a function of the marina, an amenity of the marina. So, but nonetheless, I don't think that needs to be addressed this evening as far as the 48 Section 6 because you've already approved it. This is really truly a classification of the use, other than if it was proposed that this shipbuilding, ship repair was an extension or alteration of a pre-existing non-conforming use, boat storage, then the 40 Section 6 finding would kick in as not substantially more detrimental than the previous use, which essentially the same.
Okay.
But I think by special permit in this district, you can do it because it's a use that's allowed. Boatyards and marina is allowed. So I don't think you have to get into the 48 Section 6 issue with this one. It's a simple special permit for this particular use.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to defer to town council on the classification of a marina under our table of uses and where shipbuilding comes into play. Obviously, it doesn't specifically say
No.
shipbuilding. So just to clarify that for the board and the public, where we stand on that in light of this change. So, Bob, do you have any insight into that use change in our table of uses?
I haven't.
It's,
I guess
shipbuilding
the
is
simple answer
yeah.
Not necessarily. There was a building there, okay? My understanding was that this building is basically in replacement of the formerly existing building, although it's somewhat in a different location, and it's maybe a slightly larger building.
Correct. Reoriented and slightly larger.
My understanding is they're looking to basically, fix boats, and have some incidental storage in that building. And if that's what they're proposing to do, I think it's up to Andrew to make that call, whether it's a boat storage building or whether it's a, repair type building. So obviously if it's a repair type building, then it's permissible.
So where do you draw the line between shipbuilding, as in starting from scratch and creating a ship, and repair of boats of all sizes? Does it matter to the bylaws?
Essentially, that's the same.
It's the
use.
same?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask you this, Steve?
Sure.
Do you need both terms on there, or can you just make it clearer? Because everybody accepts that you're gonna repair things in a marina.
Right. Yeah.
Can you just make it ship repair?
I wish we could, Chris, but I don't think we can. The FEMA guideline is right, Andrew. It's very specific in
Yeah,
that it says and.
It's FEMA language.
Yeah, and it's not just the FEMA language, it's building code and the engineering standards, all say the functional dependency, and it's a shipbuilding and ship repair facility, or shipbuilding or boat building and ship repair facility,
And/or
whatever they
kind
say,
of
but
Yeah.
it's that type of use, which is the same essential use, I mean.
Yeah, I will say
I
that.
think we can all agree that shipbuilding is a slightly different thing than
Yeah, we're not
ship
talking-
repair.
Understood, but,
In terms of the ventilation and the neighbors and the fumes and all of those things that go into laying up a hull. significantly different than past a few holes, so can we clarify the language to, not to,
Or condition it to a certain degree of
Well-
yeah,
No, that's a fair point. These yards do boat building or shipbuilding in the sense, if you want to consider a boat and a ship
Yeah.
an interchangeable term. They did one last year, as a matter of fact. I don't think we laid up the hull, but we got the hull in, and they basically built the boat from scratch, from the hull. Powered it, did all
Yeah.
the fit and finish and trim.
Cool.
So these yards do that kind of work, and they are capable of that. But I think you make a good point about laying up a fiberglass hull. That takes a different kind of system. We don't have that presently. But we do fiberglass repair work. We do all that stuff. And I would assume that if we did get into a heavy, building a fiberglass boat or something, then
Sort
Andrew.
of, yeah, if you did some sort of manufacturing in there,
Yeah.
then
That's my
there
point.
would, there would be
a
Correct.
different thing.
I mean, could we,
additional measures that they'd have to take by code.
Right.
For that space.
I'm not sure you could by the zoning there.
Yeah.
What's that?
I'm not sure you could fabricate by the way I read the.
yeah, I don't think this is manufacturing and production. I
Yeah,
think
that's my
this is
point.
just
No,
an
no, it's not gonna
occasional.
be a boat, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
That's-
they
that's
just
all-
go hand in hand together.
all
This
I'm trying
isn't
to drive
like
at
a,
here.
yeah, like a
It's just the
plant
language
that's
is a little
turning
bit
them out.
vague, so that down the line, someone else steps in and decides they want to do different things. Have we tied our
Understood.
hands?
Understood.
That was my feeling as well. I mean, you can,
I don't think
Expand
you're coming
on-
here with some bad intent.
No.
I'm perfectly fine with all the things you
This is
proposed.
not gonna turn into Cashman's Shipyard down the road, in South Boston. So we can all be assured of that, because if anybody's been through this, the
Process.
harbor entrance through the jetty, you can't get a boat in at low tide that draws more than 4 feet of water. I can speak to that. It's a very hairy ride getting in and out of there. So, but I think your point is well taken, and maybe the condition of the special permit would be if boat building was to be other than incidental use, they would be required to consult with the building inspector to make sure that the facility had the proper fittings in order to manage that particular use. So I think I would just leave it as an incidental part of the use, as a boat building, shipbuilding.
So maybe Lynn asked Bob if he can come up with some language with Steve
Yeah.
to restrict it to that or whatever.
That's fine.
Be in the
I think
answer.
that's fair.
Yeah.
so, are we ready to move on to another subject?
Yeah, I'm good.
Are we good? So definitely.
Steve and
we're
Heidi,
gonna-
good?
Yeah, you guys okay with that explanation?
Yeah, I just had a question, like, when did the FEMA stuff change? So was it when we did that before? Did I miss that part?
I don't think you could say that it changed, Heidi. It was more of an interpretation that became.
It didn't change.
Yeah.
Interpretation
And it
changed.
actually wasn't, it was actually Jim Folkard that first brought it up. And if you go back to one of those first if you watch the hearings, he does bring it up, but he wasn't specific about it, I don't think, at the time. And it wasn't until I really started that I took over and started to look at it, once the application was put in and I saw plans that I started to notice it as well. So we went back and forth. This is the result of many months of diving into the codes and redesigns. The architects working really hard to get all the codes and information correct on all the different pages of the plans, and going through, working with FEMA and working with Eric Carlson of the Department of Conservation and Recreation to really figure out exactly what is allowed, what's appropriate for this site in this flood zone. So it comes down to, the thing that we're trying to do is we want to protect not just these structures, but we want to protect property, and we want to
And
protect
it's in the
other
1302
structures.
as well, so.
Exactly. So the idea of a storage facility in, floodplain management terms is, regardless of what you're storing in there, if water hits the building and it's not flood-proofed properly, it's going to damage the building and damage the property inside and cause a hazard, right? So, and even if it's a storage facility, you want to protect the property inside, even if, you know, the argument is these are boats, they're meant to float. Well, once they float, they're gonna start banging into each other and banging into the structure, causing the structure to fail, causing the damage, right? So, I mean, there's a lot of debate and thought and
sure
everything
there's a
that's
lot
gone
of-
into this
yeah,
thing for a
right.
while. So they had two options, and one was either, you know, to do a dry flood proofing option, which is either elevating the structure above the flood zone or putting up a system of flood proofing barriers, or a combination of the two, elevate some and barrier some of that, which is, you know, kind of new technology, and we haven't done a whole lot of it around here yet, but we are starting to see some more of that. But it's also, it would have been really difficult for this site to manage, when really what they want to do there is have, you know, some boat repair. They've got the guys on site that have been repairing boats for ages there, and this would give them a great new facility to do that. And then you know, there would be potentially some intermittent storage of boats there, but that wouldn't be the primary use. And they have signed and recorded on the deed a non-conversion agreement with us that states that they will not use more than 10% of the space, floor space for the incidental storage.
Can you explain this conversion documentation and how that?
The non-conversion
Yes.
agreement?
to-
So
Is
basically,
it like,
it's
I
an
mean,
agreement,
isn't it,
it's an agreement with the town that FEMA recognizes, basically that they are saying exactly what it says. They're agreeing that they will not convert this
it's part of our
space
package?
beyond what they've agreed to do. So it's the building is being constructed for this very specific use, and it cannot be converted from that use. Otherwise, if it is, it's going to have to be brought into
Conformance.
conformity with the flood standards. So if they ever do decide to change the use, they'll have to change the flood proofing design as well.
That way
And-
you avoid incremental
This is a learning
changes.
process for everybody.
Sure.
And the
It-
public as well.
It protects the town from incremental changes in the use over time that, you know, might go under the radar. It's there, it's on record. We are obligated to maintain that particular use for the structure.
And so at town meeting, or at the special town meeting, town approved the use of the non-conversion agreement for enclosures below flood elevation, essentially, which, you know, let's say this
Right.
essentially is, you know, an enclosure below flood elevation, you know.
So when we move forward with zoning and other applications and buildings and things of that nature within this area, we can anticipate that FEMA's,
This is gonna be, this is for houses, for new construction in the flood zone and substantial improvements, and other modifications to foundations in the flood zone. This is gonna be a standard construction document on every building permit.
so will it become part of our application as well?
I don't think it's necessary for your
I'm just
application. We wanted to have it in for this
Well,
ZBA
this
hearing
is
so that you could
obvi-
see
yeah.
that they're serious about, you know,
The
conforming
importance
with,
of it.
you know, to strict conformance with the flood design and construction regulations, ASCE 2414, 780 CMR.
Want to say that
I
again?
know.
Blah, blah, blah.
So Andrew, this is,
Show
I
off.
see it in my sleep all night long.
He's got it tattooed.
but this is triggered more or less from the new FEMA floodplain, elevations that were accepted, more or less, right?
No, and these is building code.
But so if that building had just stayed there, that wouldn't have this problem right now?
Correct, because it's a pre-existing
Non-conforming
building.
structure.
But once the building is demolished and
Raised.
relocated, it's a new structure.
It creates the problem.
It's not the same structure, it's a new structure.
Yeah.
And that's what created the problem.
So did we not know, I guess I'm just kind of confused, because when it says they're, and the application says they're essentially the same thing. I don't think that they are. but we're saying that it's just wording to be able to get by the FEMA situation. But then it says no prevents long-term storage. What is long-term? Like, I mean, over the winter, that's where they store the boats and stuff too, right? I mean,
Well, temporary,
I guess I'm just a little confused.
temporary is defined in the building code as 180 days or less.
Okay,
So essentially anything longer than that, I would assume would be long-term storage.
So perhaps, Steve, you could address Andrew made comments about storage and the 10%, and your request for the change doesn't make a request for boat storage, is making,
Yeah,
so
the
where
yard's-
do we draw,
The yard's always done repair work in this building, and that's what it's
Correct.
for. I think maybe you can blame me, I mischaracterized the building in the initial as a boat storage building. I just thought it was a boat storage building.
Well,
But
real
they-
real quick, pardon me, it's not the same building, right? The original building's gone, this is a new
This
building.
that building's
Right.
gone.
It's gone, so this is a new building,
This
so.
is a new building.
Yeah, bottom line is, with, boat repair has been done there forever, as long
Yes.
as the marina's been there. When you categorize this original project, you categorize it as storage. And at this point, the building's done, the project looks great, it's to this point. FEMA comes along and says it can't be under that categorization, and it's not feasible to make it that way. So that's when you want to do the repair, go back to the repair you have. Andrew has said that you meet all that for the wet flood.
Yeah, to specify that repairs are done. We didn't specify
Sure.
it last time, we just called it a storage building, but they always worked on the boats in there.
Yeah.
I think what happened was, Larry, is that, and Andrew pointed this out in what he was saying, is that we have two things that we're trying to balance. One is the local zoning code allows for these particular uses and categorizing these uses as boat yards, marinas, boat repair, boat storage. And that was fine for an existing building. And in this case, it's actually fine because it's permitted use in the district, right?
Yeah.
It's a waterfront district, so it's permitted use. But then we go to a new building, but we don't, when we switch over to the FEMA regulations in the building code, it doesn't say boat storage in the new building. It just says shipbuilding and ship repair in the new building. So that's where the quandary lies. It's not a change, nothing's gonna change with respect to how this building is used. Nothing. All the same stuff is gonna go on. The boats will go in there, they'll get serviced and waxed and do all the stuff, that they typically do over the winter, and then they'll get pulled out and put back in the water. I hope I'm making myself clear. We're basically trying to balance the two different codes. When we went from the local code, which would allow this particular use in that area, everything was good, got it approved. But then we went through the building permit process, we jumped to the building code, and all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but a new building is now erected. And new structures, under the building code in FEMA, they have a different use allowed for functional dependency in their proximity to water in this particular coastal A zone. So the category has to be called a shipbuilding, ship repair, which we didn't call it that. But it is what it is, that's what it is, The boats that are in there typically all winter long, they have work orders on them. The yard, the contracts that you sign for indoor storage in the yard is that they have to perform all of the work on the boat when it's inside the building. Outside the yard, it's different, you can winterize the toilets and things like that yourself. Once it goes indoors, we have to do all the work. So all of that maintenance and repair work is done by us in that building. There's no, you can't get around it. So to say that it was storage, yeah, the boats are stored there because we don't move them out after we've worked on them. Otherwise, it would be like putting the puzzle back together every time we wanted to work on the boat in the back. Oh, that's done, let's move it out, we'll move it in. But the storage component is that the boats do remain there after they've serviced and maintained and repaired. So I hope I.
Yeah, no, I get it. I just wanted to try to simplify it as best possible for the public. We're
I don't
fortunate to have an
simplify
expert of
things.
Andrew sitting over there explaining it to us. It's clearly complicated.
He has
In the
mastered.
terminology, yeah. Andrew's got
Andrew
it
has
down pat.
mastered this
Yeah.
hands down. We have followed his lead throughout the entire process, and we have, no offense, we've jumped through all the hoops that he's asked us to jump through, and I think we've got a really solid plan that complies both with the local bylaw as well as the FEMA code with respect to the characterization of the use of the building and the building itself.
And I agree with Attorney Guard, and I think that this is not necessarily a question of whether this change of use is substantially different from what the proposed original use was, but it's more of a way for basically the zoning board to verify that the use is going to be for boat repair, you know, a functionally dependent use on its close proximity to water, which will back up the allowing the building permit and allowing this design. You know, it's essentially, you know, zoning backing up that this is exactly what's gonna happen here. It's not necessarily me saying, you know, referring it to the board, is not necessarily me saying that I feel that it's substantially different. In fact, I don't think it's substantially different. I do think it's an allowed use, and I don't have a problem with that. I think it's more of the zoning just backing up what we are doing to make sure that the whole entire thing is consistent from the design to the building to permit to the zoning kind of decision and what the zoning decision says that the use is going to be.
So you.
It's just about consistency, really.
So Andrew, you have the authority in 902 to say it's non-substantial, correct?
Yes, but I think
You are
it's
saying
important
it's
for the
not-
language
I understand
in the
that.
special permit to be consistent.
So Attorney Guard has come in front of us asking for a special permit for 9.02, and you're telling us, and I would concur, that your explanation of FEMA and the reasoning and wetproofing and all of that comes into play. And in certain circumstances, you would not have needed to push this up to ZBA for that particular one.
Correct.
But in this particular case, you've made other changes. You've made changes to the location of the building
Slightly.
and other things in your application that are not just about Andrew saying he's done his due diligence.
Well, I think you're right, Ms. Fiddler, but I think to Andrew's point is that, you know, rather than have him make that determination under 902, he wants the previous special permit consistent with his allowance, so the new special permit is consistent with his allowance, where the previous special permit just says boat storage building. So
I'm with you.
that's really his, you know, he called and said, what do you think? And I agreed with him, let's get the special permit to match what he says the building can do, which that's really what.
So pretty simply put, it was originally, the repair work was being done, that word got left out in the original permit, and we're putting it back in now.
We didn't, it's a storage
Right.
building. We didn't
Yeah.
even think to
But
talk
that's, I mean,
about
just to-
repairs.
Just to simply
Okay.
put this, that's, the word repair got left out in the original permit, we're putting it back in.
Essentially.
But you're not here for a modification to the original permit. You're here for a new permit, am I correct? in
Well,
that?
I defer to town council.
So I'm going to go
yeah,
to him,
amending-
because we have other things that, in the
Amending
last couple of years, that may have,
Nancy and I kind of went round and round on it. You can amend site plans, obviously, that's part of your purview, and it's my feeling that town council's position has been, in my experience, in the past, that you can't really amend a special permit, you gotta get a new one. So that's why we went with a
And
new
I'm
one. If you
thinking
prefer
that-
to amend the existing permit,
I would prefer to do what you've done.
yeah, that's why I applied for a new one.
Right. So, Bob,
Yeah,
can you lead the board before we go to the public? We still haven't talked about the specific changes to the original site plan to make sure everything works in relationship to 1302 and the other requested permits that they have. But can you, as far as procedural, can you help guide us through that process for this particular application?
yeah, I think Attorney Guard is following the correct process. He basically has to get a brand new permit. He can't use the existing permit, although there are many aspects of the existing permit that you might want to incorporate into this one, because this is not a de minimis change, it's actually different relief, and it's under a different provision of the bylaw, so I think he's applied appropriately, and I think the board ought to look at it as a new special permit.
Okay. All right, so that's how I was feeling as well. So then let's just get down to the nitty-gritty of what you've changed, and to just go through the requirements for site plan approval. Maybe start there first,
Sure.
and
The-
then we'll just,
Terry's on the call with us as well from Stenbeck and Taylor. But
Okay.
my understanding is that the building was adjusted about 10 feet. And in fact, Andrew had originally suggested that that was okay with him even as a field change, essentially, but.
It was not substantially different from what was decided.
Right. So, but I felt that if we're coming before you for the special permit adjustment, let's have the site plan match the building permit.
are we
So,
talking a couple feet, couple inches?
Yeah.
What? where,
Basically,
8
what
feet,
happened was
I think?
when they started
Yeah.
doing core drilling on the
Oh, here we-
site to figure out what, what was down there, they found obstructions and they had to essentially move
Maneuver.
the location of footings, and they went to Concom, and essentially Concom approved it all. So with us requiring subsequent permits, them going through Concom, being approved for that, I didn't feel that it was a substantially different change that needed site plan approval. But again, like you said, we got into everything else.
so if we're writing a new decision with new setbacks and things like that, maybe
I can certainly help you with that,
Can
but
help.
it's, yeah, I'll identify those.
identify those changes.
For sure.
So, site plan.
Forgot about the foundation, the stuff they discovered under, yeah, they couldn't.
So site plan review. Okay, protection of adjoining premises against detrimental offensive uses on the site. Discussed this first time around. We're talking about,
The Form 2D. I submitted a Form 2D that went through each of the performance standards with respect to that. I identified, I think most of them are no change. Reclassification of the building for number 1, we can go through those. Number 2, the plan ensures the convenience and safety of vehicular traffic. No proposed change, other than relocating the building. I have 12 feet in the proposed findings away from Dyke Road. All of the traffic circulation, pedestrian and automobiles, will remain essentially the same. The traffic flow remains the same. The plan ensures the adequacy measures of disposal and sewage, refuse, etc. No changes are proposed there. It was the same as the previously approved site plan, with the addition of an additional floor drain that Andrew had asked for. We have designed that into the building. The plan ensures the adequacy of space for off-street parking. No proposed changes there. This will not, the adjustment of the location of the building will not affect parking.
okay, I don't have 2D. 2D or not 2D? Do you have it there? Does the rest of the board have the applicant?
I thought I submitted it. I haven't.
I have 2C, which is the special permit.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
had that one too.
I don't have 2D.
In the areas of 2D.
Sorry, Steve.
That's okay.
Let's
I
just-
can submit it
so
to
we're
you guys.
all-
I can email it over to Gen, but the last two, Lynn, are no
I'm
change.
listening to you as we go.
Yeah,
but-
for the record, I'll just continue on.
Yep,
Number 4.
absolutely. Keep going.
Yeah, number 4 says, the plan ensures the adequacy of the spaces for off-street loading and unloading. We have not, the 10
Okay.
feet, the 12 feet won't change that on the site plan. It was not changed.
Okay,
The plan ensures that all lighting and other structure sources of illumination.
2D.
Same thing, no changes to the lighting plan for the existing, the building that was approved in February of 2020.
So I'll have to reiterate whatever was part of that.
I
When you're
would.
saying there's no change, I need to understand again.
I would probably take the, and I can mark it up for you, take the old decision and kind of put in what I think it should say for the new decision, which is gonna be 99% the same, except for we're
Okay.
gonna change the classification.
Putting the cart in front of the horse, but yeah.
Yeah, assuming, of course, that you vote in favor of tonight's
Thank you,
application.
Mr.
I had to
Attorney
add that
Guard.
for the record.
Okay.
I'm happy to send it over to you
Okay.
and
I see some
Nancy.
tire tracks when you're right.
See some tire tracks.
But we're not done? I thought we
Yeah,
were
we're not done. Some of the board members may
Yeah, they
have
might
some
have
other
some.
comments as well, yes, I'm hoping.
Sorry if that wasn't in the file, but I have it right here in front of me.
Do you have it?
The
I don't
same
have
order.
2D, but
No.
I don't see it in the packet, no.
it's not in the packet.
Okay,
I
well,
have-
perhaps you could send it over
Sure.
to Andrew, and at least
Just the
it'll be
original.
part of what
Nancy, are they
you,
the same?
and CC Nancy on it.
You got it. Yep.
No one-
In fact, it'll go right now before we even.
And then where we're,
Yeah.
here on the record, Andrew can
Doesn't
put it
matter.
up, and it's
Yeah.
becomes part of the record.
So essentially, for the record, there are only 2 changes that would, Form 2D would represent, and that is the 12 feet further away from Dyke Road and the additional floor drain. Everything else, and the reclassification of the building as a ship building, ship repair facility. Other than that, all of the previously approved performance standards of the site plan in 2020 remains the same.
Okay.
Because the site has just come along really well. The whole drainage and all the stuff that we did from the last approval has come out really well.
Excellent. Okay, so Terry is here still, right?
I think he's,
Or is he gone?
I'm here.
Hi, Terry.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
I'm good.
He's explained it perfectly.
Okay.
nobody ever says that.
Pretty much.
Come on, that's too much.
All right. Well, I'm just here because I want to make sure for purposes of procedural things, we have in front of us, we have sheets 1 through 5 from you. And I'm not sure, I didn't take a look at the previous application for the other decision. Are there any other specific plans or drawings? I'm guessing we had architectural renderings that I would like added to this application.
Yeah, you do have the architectural renderings. Those are some of them that Andrew has up now. Essentially, the building moved back and over, I want to say about 7.5 feet. And the only other change to the building where there were a couple of bump outs that would have faced the Dyke Road side that we eliminated, and used that space to create more green space and to extend that drainage strip all the way along. The remainder of the site, we cut the original site plan down from 9 or 10 sheets down to actually 5 sheets. There's a typo on that box that says see sheet 5 and 6. It should have been 4 or 5 because the rest of the site now is really in an as-built condition. So we focused on just the area that was pertinent to this repair building facility, just that one particular building that we're discussing and the immediate effects around it, none of which have changed. We're holding the same elevations, utilities are all in the same location. Again, we've straightened out and kind of added some length to that drip trench along the Dyke Road side and added the floor drain with the industrial holding tank in the back, coming out on the back side away from that. And that's the only change. Lighting is all the same. Doors, egresses are all in the same location as well.
Okay.
So to your point, Lynn, we didn't apply for an amended special permit because that would be an inappropriate request. But, so we applied for a new special permit, but you can treat the application for the site plan approval as an amendment to the previous site plan. And that's sort of the tack that we took, so we didn't have to republish and take you through all the other stuff that had already been completed.
All right, so then if we're talking about site plan approval, let me just reiterate what you said. Oh, okay, thank you.
Already sent it over.
So your I can't look through these glasses, it makes me car sick, I'm one of those car sick people, so sorry. So with the decision as we move forward, so if we were to consider this as an amended site plan to the decision dated of February 2020 for the site plan approval,
Yes.
then I wouldn't have to get into the specifics of what you've done so far in that other building and the restaurant and all of that, because it's part of that decision.
Correct, right.
And
We don't
that's,
have
you've
to-
got,
we don't
you
to
have
regurgitate all that.
everything done, and the as-bilt's correct, and it is reflected on this plan.
I don't know if we have as-bills filed yet, but the work has been monitored in.
They're like, yeah, they're done.
There's,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
your job, that's your job.
Yeah,
That's your,
they're very, yeah, they're,
okay.
as far as everything, on that, they're 90, I would say 99%, without looking at everything off the top of my head, they're,
Yeah.
99% done on the work.
Bob, is that the correct approach to this?
I can read lips, he said yes.
So it was perfect.
He's waving at us.
I don't think.
You're
Got on
muted,
mute.
Bob.
Perfect.
You're muted.
Thumbs up, Bob. There you are.
Sorry.
No, that's good. So the suggestion is to amend the existing decision which was case 20-14, for the site plan alone. Does
You
that,
can amend the site plan approval.
yeah,
You can't amend the special permit. You should issue a new special permit.
okay. So when we go to a vote, I'm gonna need your help with figuring all that out. Okay, so based on what I'm understanding at this point, we have Form 2D. We just went through it. Board is satisfied with that. Mr. Feeney and Heidi, you satisfied with the site plan as being amended to the original case 20-14?
I am Steve Feeney.
Thank you. Heidi?
Yes.
Okay, so I'd like to just close that portion of tonight's hearing after I ask the public. So, are we all set, board members, before I ask the public?
I'm good.
Okay.
Good.
All right. So I'd like to ask the public if they have any comments on amending case 20-14, site plan approval with the modifications as the applicant has just provided the board. Are there any questions or comments to the board for case 20-14? Again, you need to press *6 to be heard if you're dialing in.
Is there anyone on there, Andrew? I don't see anybody.
Okay, I hear crickets. First time
Is
I
there
said.
anyone in the audience?
Anybody in this audience that would like to speak? No? All right. Then I feel comfortable closing that portion of tonight's application, which is specifically the site plan approval.
Amendment.
Yes. It needs to be in accordance with 9.02, 10.10, 13.02, and 12.02, obviously, which is the site plan. Okay. All those in favor of closing?
Well, second, Brian Murphy.
Second is closing site plan approval of case 20-14.
Larry Keane, aye.
Lynn Fiddler, aye.
Chris Bellows, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Heidi Conway
Aye.
and Steve Feeney.
Aye.
Okay, so that portion is closed. We'll get back to that in deliberation. Okay. All right. Let's move on to the special permit. Steve? Let's start with Form 2C. Andrew, can you put up Form 2C for us? I think it's pretty simply put. The use requested is listed in the table of use regulations as a special permit in the district for which the application is being made or is designated elsewhere. And it's specifically identified under, is it retail?
What are you looking at?
Yeah, I think Chris
think it's in
mentioned
the
it as
retail
number
17,
17, right?
Yep, 17 under retail.
Yep. Number 17. The requested use is essential or desirable to the public convenience or welfare for the following reasons. The new building will be for shipbuilding and ship repair and is being built to comply with FEMA regulations. Any comments from the board? Let me know. It's pretty, okay. The requested use will not create undue traffic congestion or unduly impair pedestrian safety for the following reasons. The shipbuilding and repair use will not alter the vehicle or pedestrian traffic from the previous uses. We didn't actually look at the actual site plan in relationship to pedestrian traffic, and traffic flow. Maybe we should do that.
You did it last time.
We did it last time, but this is a
It
new,
was part of last time as far as that goes, so.
new hearing.
I would just
Nothing's
say-
changed.
Yeah, I'm saying no change, which, you know, again, no
It
change.
actually
And-
improves it, it moves it further.
It moves it, so
Yeah.
it's better, okay? Just bear with me. The requested use will not overload any public water drainage, shipbuilding and ship repair will not, will not create additional burden on the municipal system as previously approved. Any special regulations for the use set forth in Article 12 of the zoning bylaw are fulfilled specifically. Shipbuilding and ship repair is part of the marina use, which is allowed in the district, and we talked in detail about that. The requested use will not impair the integrity or character of the district or adjoining zones, nor be detrimental to the health, morals, or welfare for the following reasons. Shipbuilding and ship repair is part of a marina use, which is allowed in the district. Number 7. Structures historically used for boat storage and repair, and the applicant has made that clear. Boat storage and repair is essentially the same as shipbuilding and ship repair. Does the board feel that this is something that we need to discuss further? Heidi, are you clear on number 8? You,
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're the same thing, but I'm clear why they came up with that.
okay.
Makes sense?
Okay. Extended or altered use or structure will not be more detrimental or objectionable to the neighborhood for the following reasons. The building is similar in size and location as the previous commercial building, and the use is identical. Would you say identical?
I did.
Would you like to?
No.
You're good with
I think
that?
it's exactly the same.
Okay.
I'm going with it's exactly the same.
Okay. The extended or altered use or structure does not cause violation of or further violation of Article 8 of the bylaw for the following reasons. Both storage and repair is essentially the same thing as shipbuilding and repair, but by another name. Okay. We also have 13.02.
I don't have that in front of me, Lynn, sorry.
That's the coastal ones. I don't know. This is already, it's coming in front of us again, so we need to make sure that that this is addressed as well.
I don't think I changed, yeah, I don't. What did I do last
Can
time?
you-
I did I think I included the performance standards in the previous,
I don't have that,
I
Steve,
don't
so I may need to leave the record open for you to
yeah, I can submit that for you.
submit and clarify 1302, unless you have something in your,
I don't know if I have that, other than what was from last time, so let me see if I can find the one I did last time.
okay.
Just give me a second while you keep going.
Yep, I'll keep going. So the board is very familiar with 1302 and the importance of the coastal wetlands district and how this project would or would not affect that district on a case-by-case basis. Okay. 12.02 is the site plan. I think that's where we are. I think that sums it up as far as procedural things that we need to go over. Oh, Terry did mention on sheet 3 of 5, there was a typo on the left where it says new shipbuilding and repair facility detail. See sheet, it says see sheet 5 of 6, but we clarified it was intended to say sheet 4 of 5, and 4 of 5 is here, and we did have that on the board. Paved parking, everything else is the same. Shed was to be relocated or removed.
That was done.
It's gone.
Yeah. Andrew, that shed, it's all set? The
The
shed
shed's
from the previous
removed.
thing's all set, right? It's still there?
Yeah.
I don't remember. What we supposed to do with it?
So I'm not endorsing the shed, or the board, I never say
I don't know
aye.
if the shed's even there anymore, I don't think.
I don't think
It's
We
we
on
just
the-
aren't endorsing the shed.
We will not endorse the shed, but the shed is indicated on sheet 4 of 5.
Okay.
Planters, landscaping, that's the
Done.
site plan stuff. Okay. All right. Any comments from the public on the special permit for case 22-02?
Is anyone on there, Andrew?
I don't think so.
No.
All right. Did you find anything on it?
No, I don't see it in here, but I thought I did it from last time. I thought it
So
was
if I was to, I'm gonna ask Bob, but if I was to leave the record open
Yeah.
for that,
happy to
and
submit it.
close
I'll
with
do
just
another
that.
Form 2C specifically for the coastal inland, I'm sorry, the coastal wetland district.
Okay. Bob, does that make sense, or should I leave and not close? Just continue this hearing where we don't have the
Call.
our call. Board members?
Yep.
I'm comfortable with closing and just leaving the record open.
And then if we have to
Can always
delve into it further,
Can always reopen.
we
You
can reopen it
Yeah,
and.
yeah,
you-
that's fine. I
You're gonna
know,
work
again,
You're gonna work on some language about the traditional use,
yeah,
not expanding the, from, into some fabrication facility.
I will
So
absolutely
that
do
would
that for you.
be-
Yep.
Part 2, Part 1, 1302.
1302, I'll go through 1302, the performance standards. I'm confident that we met them last time because we haven't done anything that
And I
substantial.
can leave the record open and not close and revisit this. When's the next?
Just for that
25th.
only.
Yeah.
Well, of those things.
I would just, I think, I
Close
like your, close, leave the record open, I'll submit, we'll consent to reopening
Just
if
for
you want to
those
debate the,
two,
yeah,
those
those two things, yep,
the
sure,
two
happy
items,
to do
unless
that.
the other board members have other specific.
I don't know.
Chris, if I create the language and Bob, just send me
As
back
long
the
as you guys
comments.
can, just
You know what I
to establish that we're not,
Include-
we're not endorsing some future fabrication.
Right, you're not gonna end up with a Grady White
Austin Whaler
manufacturing
sitting there.
company.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, I got you.
Right, and then we can deliberate on his response.
And
And
we
he
want
doesn't
to-
necessarily need to be here.
I'm
to-
comfortable we can get it the language that works.
Yeah, I'm hoping with your help, yep. Okay, so then I'd like to make a motion to close the case 2202, close the special permit section of this application. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Brian Murphy, and acknowledging that we are keeping the written record open for those two items that we just discussed.
Can you just repeat them so I make sure I have them?
So Attorney Guard will address 13.02 in a new format application. And he is also going to address the verbiage for Chris's comments in regards to, yeah, okay,
Manufacturing,
manufacturing and how we
oh,
can
building.
condition,
Yeah.
make that work for the town of Marshfield.
Incidental to the shipbuilding, the ship repair.
Bob, is there anything else that I should be doing?
No, I think you're set.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So Brian seconded. All those in favor of closing?
Larry Keane, aye.
Lynn Fiddler, aye.
Chris Pellis, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Heidi Conway.
Aye.
Steve Feeney.
Aye.
Okay. So Chris, you're the vote on this.
Okay.
Okay. Alrighty, so we are closed and we will revisit this in deliberation probably at the next hearing, but we'll leave that up to the discretion of the board.
And you left the record open? I'm sorry, I was reading the 1302 while you were making that.
We
motion.
left
Left it open
it
for 1302.
for those two items, those two topics.
Got it, no problem.
All right? All right, moving on. Thank you, Steve.
Good, all
Very
right.
good. I
Thank you very
appreciate your
much.
time.
So this will be on
Thank
the
you,
25th?
thank you everyone for
Maybe
their
you need
time,
to
and I
follow up
appreciate
with him
this.
Do you need to
tomorrow?
note anything
that,
that this will be deliberated on the 25th?
gonna get it right, you know?
Yeah. Looks great down there.
It's up to
It's
the
coming along
board, we have
awesome.
60 days.
Oh,
to-
okay.
Right? So
Glad.
we don't,
Thank you very
Do
much.
you need anything out of here? I'll leave it.
thank you, everybody. Enjoy your night.
Thank you.
Go stoke those wood stoves. All righty, last
Guys,
but not
next?
least.
Oh, I thought that guy was with this.
That's one.
All right, I'm leaving.
Goodbye, Brian.
See ya.
Thank you. Have a nice evening. Okay, this is case 2203, Patrick and Krista McDonough. The petitioners are seeking a variance in accordance with 305-10.11 for relief from 305-11.09C6 and 305-11.09C7, and a special permit in accordance with 305-11.09 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to create an accessory apartment within the 752 square foot addition to be constructed on the property located at 105 Marshak Way, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel H1202-33A and is located in an R1 zoning district. So if you'd like to identify yourself for the record, we'll get started.
I'm Dick Rockwood, and I'm here for the McDonoughs. I did their project for their addition. They are doing the addition now. It's already permitted because they met all the requirements. And they would like to make that an accessory dwelling. Mom has moved into the house, and they would like to have a little space for her, to have her own private space down below. This is kind of unique because it's an R1 zone on the property, but it's that open space residential, I forget the acronym part, but.
OSRD.
OSRD development. So, but the lot meets all the requirements of an R2. The house was not put 20 feet from the sideline. It was put 15 feet from the sideline, as an R2 would be. The lot is also 23,000 square feet, which is an R2 requirement. So it's kind of unique. There's not really slot for that, so it doesn't meet the requirements of R1 zone, but it does because, in a sense, they built them as R2 lots, but gave the rest of the land as open space. So I don't know how much that enters in, but there, it doesn't, I've been told it doesn't fit into that category. But if I had a 10,000 square foot lot and it was in an R3, I can have an accessory dwelling. This is it's built as an R2, which is okay to have an accessory dwelling, but it's still on the zoning as being classified as an R1 because of the OSRD. So
when the special permit through planning has it as an R1, not as an R2. So I'm kind of lost in your logic there.
So it's an R1, but the lot is only, the property that they have is drawn out to be 23,000 square feet, not the 43,000, the full acre. 40,000, I think, is what it says in the
Right, so in
R1.
an R1, which this is an R1, it is a 40,000, and you're right, in an R2
Right.
it's 20, and.
Right. In a
R3.
sense, it has 40,000, it's just distributed and laid
In
out differently under that
Right,
type of development. So
right.
it puts it into, it doesn't fit in the slot of what was written 50 years ago in the zoning bylaws.
I do understand your argument, however, I'd like to hear what the board has to say, and I also, did you get a chance to review the comments from Greg Guimond in relation? Okay,
nothing.
so,
I didn't send it. I didn't even think about that.
it came today, right? Was it today?
Yes, it was this afternoon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
so I have not seen it.
I think that for the benefit of the applicant, that he needs to, because
might
we,
get a copy right
we
here.
do take
Do you have it,
that
Larry?
into consideration. Yeah, if you could, thanks, Larry.
Do we want to kick this over to the next,
I have one.
next meeting?
I just want to make sure that,
Yeah.
because, so, So I know in an OSRD, the size of the lot, I do know some
Mhm.
about.
Yes,
So,
I know.
The density in an OSRD is part of the permitting process with planning, and they take that very seriously. And I do hear what you're saying in regards to
Yeah,
the 40,000 and how it affects an OSRD with that open space and the lot size and, you know, what in the
I am not-
reasoning and the history of,
I am not familiar with what creates an OSRD, because I don't, that's
yeah,
a little
it's,
different
there's a lot,
from my
there's a lot that
everyday-
goes into it, right.
Right, from
I
my
know.
everyday. So as far as this and the things that he mentioned here are
A
a
little-
little unique with
Yes.
the everyday. But the logic
I-
of having a lot that meets all those other requirements and
Right.
saying, well, you can't have an accessory dwelling in that house.
I'm sorry.
I just think this
Doesn't-
board just has not ever gone, I
Down
mean,
this road, I
has
hate
never
to always
gone
be the
down-
first.
so maybe by
So-
coming in front of the board and drawing it to the attention of the board, it may be
Right.
something that in town meeting in the future that, you know, might be something that somebody could get behind and work towards. I mean, I'm just speaking for myself.
Yeah,
I'm
I
one
just-
of, one of 5 votes here,
Right,
but,
I understand.
Lynn, one thing I wanted to ask, maybe Bob, but I didn't get a chance to talk to with Greg today after he sent the email was, you know, part of having the OSRD is you have smaller lots, but as part of the overall development plan, you know, you have all that open space, so you have all this, you know, you can see all this open space here. And all that open space plus the lot sizes would actually equal the amount of space required for that number of R1 developments. So when Greg was saying like that the size, you know, might not, I mean, the size is still there as far as like the overall land size, it's just not developed.
well, each individual parcel is 29,000 square feet or whatever, whatever
this
it
is
is, 23,000
Right.
square feet. So you're
But you
talking, when you start talking about a parcel, you can't talk about what's on the other, so like in a I'm just speaking off the cuff. So if my house, for example, or anybody's house was adjacent or abutted conservation land, does that mean that that particular piece of property would be afforded the same benefit if the board was to allow, in this case, without town meeting approval? So
Those
that's where
numbers
I,
of those lots would not be developed if they did not have an acre to be able to give that land
Back
to
to
the
the-
town. So if that wasn't allowed, the contractor could have said, well, I'm just now gonna make these all 1 acre lots. I don't know the rationale.
there's a
behind-
lot that goes into it,
Yes.
so
So I can't go down that road of
I
all
would,
those,
I would
but-
advise the board that that's not an appropriate thing at this time, based on the bylaw. for
What it might
accessory.
Affect
Maybe,
in the future?
perhaps in the future with Andrew's support, the board's support and public support, I
No, I mean,
don't
if you
know.
grant, you're saying if you.
I would not,
If you granted the variant, you don't know what repercussions it has later
well,
on.
I don't see how I don't see how granting a variance in regards to, these lots are very similar to any other OSRD. There's nothing unique about them. As a whole, the argument is perhaps.
If I had a 10,000 square foot lot in R3, I could have the in-law.
And I hear that argument too,
Which is
but
why I'm
there
here
had,
to-
yes,
right.
so if you had an in-depth discussion with Greg and he talked about tiered approach to land use and how Marshfield has adopted that and density and
Which
all that other stuff that, as I said, I know a little bit about that.
Okay.
But he's the professional as far as the town is concerned in that subject, and if
Right.
the board feels that is something that, you know, we need to discuss for, I'm
Does
the
it
only
make
one.
sense, does it make sense for Dick to have direct contact with Greg and try to parse through this?
Well, it is, it's part, so the planning board is the granting
yeah.
authority for the
No,
OSRD, so.
Greg's indicated he doesn't favor the variance, but is it
Right.
possible for you guys to have a conversation? You come back and see us in a couple of weeks, and if you make some headway, then.
I mean, yeah, or we could withdraw it without prejudice
That was
at
just what
your,
I'm thinking about, rather than having
I don't wanna
something
tell
denied.
you-
But,
but,
Pardon me, is this addition, it's already there, right? I went by
well,
there
this is,
today.
I'm not asking for the addition.
No, but
It's
it's
being built
already
right
done.
now.
It's already, but that's what
yeah,
I'm
so
saying,
he
it's already
can build
permitted,
the
it's already
addition,
there.
it's how
They
he,
didn't need a special permit.
Yep,
And so then the request was to make it an in-law.
to convert it to an
You know,
in-law.
so
Yep.
so we can have
Talking the
the,
kitchen thing and whatever we go to do, which I even
Yeah.
understand.
And
There's
for
some
clarification,
There's some
so
questions
people,
on that, but,
so people understand, that property that's across the street from this lot originally was part of this lot, and it was given over as open space.
right, to make
So
these
to
lots,
make
so
the
many
lots-
lots, right.
Correct.
It's
The property across the
part
property
of,
behind.
it's part of the homeowners, it's part of the OSRD of the
Yep.
development. It's part of the homeowners association.
Yep,
It's not public?
well, I don't know what
Is
this.
it just
particular-
there, open space?
Typically,
Just
it's
curious.
all identified in their homeowners and their declarations and all of that, what and who's allowed, but I'm
Right.
guessing it's just for the use
Marshfield Way Homeowners
of the
Trust.
homeowners.
Who owns
yeah.
behind? The pork chops behind the development.
Hmm?
Who owns the pork chops behind the development?
But they own the pork chop?
Oh, and
I don't know, I'm asking.
I mean, they own that.
Like that's part of it.
Yeah, so they
Oh, this is
probably
Marshfield.
have,
That's-
Is that the
Marshfield Way.
open space part?
But I mean, is
They have
that,
drainage-
is
they-
that private land for the association? I
That's
don't,
all part of that's all part of the.
planning can
homeowner-
answer all these
OSRD,
questions.
yeah.
but-
right, which doesn't really have anything to do with.
But you're
what I'm
welcome
saying.
to, we can continue this to another date, and you can have some time to.
And then
to
decide if I
delve in,
withdraw.
And then withdraw without prejudice after.
Let's do that.
Yeah, if it's,
And
and I can, I can understand if it has some other ramifications that,
But I think
of
if,
other developments and things like that. But
right.
the logic of it, as you
I-
said, you know why I'm here. It's just.
I know, yes, and
you
and
know, We're
I,
not trying to put a square peg in a round hole. Maybe it's
No.
octagonal, kind of try to fit it in there. It's like,
it's just,
you know,
right.
for the
It's-
size of the lot, and
Well,
why would they be deprived that if you could build the house on it and make a 15-foot setback, just like an R2 lot? So that's why it's hard to explain to the homeowner why it,
You're in an R1 and you don't have 40,000 square feet, but you can't.
but everybody in and out, you know, we know the rest of the story, so we agree. But
Yes, but the solution is still,
don't tread down this road as we do.
yeah, I think that I think the solution is a little more complicated than that, so.
well, with what you've already been permitted for, what would you be changing for a
Just
in-law
make it an
setup?
official in-law, that's all.
That's all you're doing?
Yeah, that's
Basi-
all I'm doing.
Basically,
Yeah.
it's already going up, you're already permitted to get in there, you just want
That's
to
how it's used,
legitimize
and
it
then, yeah,
as,
so skirting around the system or
yeah,
whatever.
you just want to legitimize it as,
Yeah.
as an in-law.
Yeah.
But the in-law, the mother's got to be moving in.
In this case, the mom's already in the house, and it's a
Yeah.
little crowded, and they would put the addition on, so, you know, and
So the-
it boils down to how that's used.
So the Board of Health also made some comments on this.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, that was one of the things I wanted to get at, is with some of the opposition you have there in front of you, that what is really gonna be the impact? If Ma's already living in the house and it's already there,
Yeah.
which,
So, yeah, so
Two
if,
people, 2 kids, and grandma's living there. It happens in every house, but is it an in-law suite? No, it all depends on how private that space is, I guess, or
right.
yeah,
it's
I mean,
really.
I don't know even if it's a 4-bedroom, a 5-bedroom, if it looked like.
It's a 4, and it will still will
was
be 4, yeah.
4,
We
and
just have to
then they-
manipulate a little, almost
you have
useless
a-
room upstairs, and, you know,
Okay,
it'll become
so-
somebody's closet, so that's a matter of semantics.
But you
But-
may want, I mean, my recommendation is you take the next couple of weeks to think about your options. But Board of Health also made comments about nitrogen loading and things of that nature, so
It's
I
still a
think that you're,
4-bedroom house, so,
you're,
yeah.
yeah. And you
did,
know.
did we
you
get
do know-
comments from the Board of
4-bedroom.
Health? I didn't see any
Yeah.
comments from
If
the
it
Board
meets
of
the
Health.
4-bedroom requirement, then it's 4-bedroom house. So, to be,
Maybe
you
the,
know, to be
maybe
worked
the
out.
comment came through.
The only comments I saw was from the plan.
Did we get any comment from the Board of Health on this?
Yes, and there were additional
Yeah, it
comments
was-
today,
Oh, thank you. I thought,
or yesterday, I'm
Sorry.
sorry.
But it's gonna be a four-bedroom, you already have, clearly already have a four-bedroom approved septic system there,
Yeah,
correct?
there's a four-bedroom septic system there, and the lots, once again, the other part of their land is across the road.
well, it's
So
not
it's still that
technically
proportion
their
of an
land.
R1 zone, I don't know.
It's not technically their land, so
Right,
it's
right.
their homeowners association. Bob, do you want to weigh in on this?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote a memo on this, and
Yep, it's in there.
I've seen this issue before. This clearly requires a variance, but I also really think it requires the planning board approval to expand the uses in the open space residential subdivision. You know, the applicant wasn't required to build smaller lots. They opted to build smaller lots. Okay? They got more density than they would ordinarily, well, they got at least the same density that they would get if they built this as a conventional subdivision. But because this subdivision was located in a water resource protection district, the only way to get same density was to design it as an open space residential subdivision. So, you know, they designed it this way, and now, and I'm saying this with all due respect to Dick, because I think he's doing a great job advocating for his client, this is the end around on the nitrogen issue that are created when you add an additional bedroom. And I think those have to be vetted out through the planning board process. You know, I think your board can vary the bylaw, but this is a use variance, not a dimensional variance. And someone would have to prove to me and prove to your board, not to me, but prove to you people that there's circumstances affecting, you know, the soil shape and the topography of the lots and just ignoring the size requirements for the lots.
Just turn up so we can hear.
Bob, can you hear me?
I think your computer was out of battery, Andrew. Gave you a warning earlier.
I tried plugging it back in, but.
I'm just going to call Bob,
Are we still on the air?
and we're going to go into speakerphone. So this is for the board.
Then, hold on, are we still
Bob,
on
can
the
you
air?
hear me? Oh, you know what? Did the thing die? The computer died.
I'm going to call him. Just so the members of the public and the board, I'm calling Attorney Galvin. We have technical difficulties.
Is Marshfield Cable TV still broadcasting?
I can hear you. So we had a technical glitch during that. I'm going to put you on speakerphone while MCTV is working through it. The problem is that we have Heidi and Steve Feeney in, on Zoom. So if I can't get you back, can I call them individually?
I can call Steve. You can call Heidi.
I can hear you on my phone. I'm on my phone, so I can put you on speakerphone, and we can call the other two board members. You can see everybody, but he can see everybody, but we can't, our screen is dead.
Yeah, so he should be able to see everything through MCTV and everything, but that screen and we can't hear everybody. I assume he can hear me right now, but.
Yes, excellent, okay. So I'm going to put you on speakerphone so I can hear your voice as we're in here, and then
We can
if
call
you can
Heidi
call, you can call Heidi and perhaps
You have to make sure I have
Chris
his.
can call,
make sure I have
Steve
his phone
Feeney.
number.
I'm putting you on speakerphone until we get this resolved. All right. So I have, for the record, I have Bob Galvin, and it is currently 8:15, and he is on speakerphone, where we have a technical difficulty in the selectmen's room, where the board members in the selectmen's room cannot
I do. I
view
don't know
the
how to get to it
screen
now.
nor hear
Get on.
MCTV or Zoom.
I don't.
Just a minute.
Without seeing it on.
Hi, it's Nancy, and you're on speaker.
Uh-oh, we're gonna, so take her off speaker until she needs,
No, she's okay. She should
oh,
be
you
fine.
good?
Can you hear us?
Bob, you can hear us, correct?
I know.
I'm not very good with my phone.
I don't know.
Okay, just a second. Do you have Steve Feeney's phone number?
Hang on.
Can you give Steve Feeney's phone number to Larry Keane? Write it down and hand it to him, don't say it out
Yeah,
loud.
You can just dial it if you want.
Just yell it out over the airwaves.
Oh, Chris is gonna put it in. So Steve, if you can hear us, we're gonna dial you, and then you'll be on speaker phone in the selectman's office.
Why doesn't that one work?
Currently, we have Heidi on speaker phone and Bob Galvin. Sit tight, everybody. It's like we've done this before.
His cell phone wasn't working earlier.
Oh, that's right. Maybe Steve can call.
It's got a voicemail.
Got his
Come on.
voicemail.
I'll send him a text.
Send him a text, and we have 4 members of the board, so we can move, right now, we have Heidi, Larry, myself, and Chris. So we can move forward and,
How do I get back to
and
that?
continue this hearing to a date certain in 2 weeks with a vote of 4, with your approval. But I'd like to hear, before we go any further, I'd like to hear what Bob Galvin has to say, as we're trying to attempt to get Steve Feeney on the phone,
Right, I agree with you.
okay?
So why don't I just tell you what I was gonna say?
Yeah, that's fine, because I'm thinking that Steve Feeney can hear us, he just can't be heard by us. So go ahead, Bob.
Okay, so my perspective on this was that there is a nitrogen loading restriction that is on the entirety of this development. And adding additional bedrooms is potentially gonna violate that restriction. Okay. I think it violates the express terms of the zoning bylaw because the lot, by choice but not by requirement of the bylaw, was designed with less than 40,000 square feet. All right? Where it's designed by choice that way, it clearly is a lot that's not eligible for an accessory apartment. And it may also violate the nitrogen loading restriction on the land. Okay? The other thing is, because this was an open space residential development, any modification to what was previously proposed in terms of the density of use is also going to require planning board approval, because it's a change or an expansion of the existing use.
Yeah. I think I tried to explain that to you, but that's,
I get it.
that's, yeah, you, okay. So,
We're not actually adding a bedroom, but all those other reasons that Bob mentioned.
right.
yeah, it's-
So I think Dick Rockwood's understanding that logic. So do you still feel that you would like to take a couple weeks to, or
No, I
would you
don't
like?
think so.
Would
I
you
don't
like
think
to
that's
just withdraw
necessary.
without
I think
prejudice?
that's the thing to do,
Okay, are you,
because I don't see this
the time
going
spent?
anywhere. It's too big.
You're not gonna go to
It's too big
planning and
for anybody to
request?
try to make that decision or
Right.
change that. I mean, it's,
Right,
if it,
okay,
if it gets into planning board and stuff, I
it's a lot
honestly
to,
wasn't aware of
okay.
all those other complications.
All right. So, Bob, right now, I have the 3 of us here in the selectman's office, and I have Heidi on speakerphone. That's 4 votes. We haven't been able to reach Steve Feeney. Can I go to close this and then withdraw it without prejudice per the applicant's request with the 4 votes?
You would have at least 4 votes to close if you can't reach Steve. Steve is, I can see Steve.
I'm back on now.
Oh, you can hear. Okay, excellent. All right, so then we have the 5 votes. So I'm hoping that both Steve and Heidi were able to hear what Bob had to say and hear Dick Rockwood's response. Heidi, were you able to hear that?
Yeah.
Okay. And Steve, were you able to hear those comments from Bob and the response from Dick Rockwood?
I missed the last probably minute and a half.
Okay, so would you like me to speak on your
Yeah,
behalf?
we were not intending to add a bedroom. It is a 4-bedroom house. But based on the complexity of the whole planning board issue and how that particular lot is created, I think it'd be better to just withdraw
Okay.
the hearing, because
All right, so Steve, were you able to hear that? The applicant is requesting to withdraw?
I did hear that.
Okay, excellent. All right. So I'm going to, based on that, first I'm going to ask the public if there are any comments. Any comments from the public? There being none, I'd like to move forward with case, where are we? What is this one? 1304. Help. Oh, here I am. Just a second, folks.
2203.
Oh, 20, I'm sorry. This is case 2203. I'd like to make a motion to close case 2203 for 105 Marshfield Way. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
Seconded by Larry Keane. All those in favor of closing, Larry Keane.
Aye.
Lynn Fiddler, aye.
Chris Belazos, aye.
Heidi Conway.
Aye.
Steve Feeney.
Aye.
Thank you. So we are closed. The applicant has requested to withdraw case 2203 without prejudice. Do I have a second?
Larry Keane, second.
All those in favor of granting the applicant's request to withdraw without prejudice?
Larry Keane, aye.
Lynn Fiddler, aye.
Chris Belazos, aye.
Heidi Conway?
Aye.
Steve Feeney?
Aye.
All right, I appreciate everybody. So you're all set, and we are withdrawn without prejudice. And that ends our, another challenging technological COVID. Okay, I appreciate it. So board members, I'm going to just stay on with me for a second here. So we have on February 22nd, we have the doc for the Gomeses. What else do we have that night? And we'll
We have 2 meetings before that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at. Okay. So where are
I
we?
believe there are only 2 new ones for the
What's our next hearing?
January 25th,
The date of our next hearing?
125. 2 new hearings.
So we have 2 new hearings on 125. Okay. And then we have the decision for case 2202, which is 239 Dyke Road, which we'll see if we get to that. I'm guessing we will. And then we go, the next hearing is 2/8.
Yes.
And on February 8th, we have how many hearings at this point?
The deadline is an early deadline this week because of the Martin Luther King holiday. They have to have applications in by tomorrow at noon, and so far I believe I have 5.
So you have 5 currently. Okay.
Plus the
and
continued.
plus the
Yeah,
continued.
plus Seminole is continued too.
And again.
That's right. Thank you. That's Seminole. Yeah, yeah.
Brought his plans, so we're,
What?
he has his plans, so
He's
that's
good
gonna be
move
okay to go.
through. Okay, all right. Are there any other comments before we adjourn? We good?
Good.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn. I'm gonna start with, Heidi.
Is Larry second?
Oh, yes, do I have a
Larry
second to
Keane,
adjourn?
second.
He did, I just didn't acknowledge it. Larry Keane has seconded a motion to adjourn for tonight's hearing of January 11th, 2022. The time is 8:25. All those in favor?
Larry Keane, aye.
Lynn Fiddler, aye.
Chris Belazos, aye.
Heidi Conway? And Steve Feeney.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Heidi.